Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the #1 most watched Raider show in the entire world. And if you don't believe me, subscribe. I'll show you why. Coming up on the show, it's Davante Adams situation. And I'm going to be real. A lot of smoke going on around Davante, and it's starting to scare me a little bit. And then Aidan O'Connell, is he going to be the Raiders starting quarterback if Jimmy G is unable to go? For those of you that do not know what I'm talking about with this entire Davante situation, this is the latest going on around number 17. So it was reported that Davante showed a little bit of frustration on Sunday versus New England, and he did. I mean, you got to give Bill Belichick a little bit of credit, and you should have known that the Patriots were going to do everything in their power to try to take him out of the game plan because he's the go-to guy, and that's what the Patriots do. Tay then, though, after the game, after the Raiders won, left without talking to the media, and for anybody that's followed Davante from his time with the Green Bay Packers to now with the Las Vegas Raiders, he doesn't do that. Like, Davante's not the type of dude to just pack his stuff up and go right away without talking to the media. So the rumor is that Adams left after the game in a very, very bad mood, and people are wondering, is he in a bad mood because the Raiders aren't using him on offense right now, or is it more of a he's not putting up the stats in terms of what Davante is used to putting up? If you don't know, he was targeted 5 times, had 2 catches for 29 yards and no touchdowns against New England. Now, me personally, I get the idea that you want to be able to put up numbers, but the only thing that really matters is the W, which the Raiders did get. But when you look at Davante's stats throughout this entire season in 6 games, he started this week 1 with the Denver Broncos, 6 for 66, no touchdowns. Then followed that up against the Buffalo Bills. Again, it was in a blowout game. 6 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. But if you remember, that touchdown happened early on. Week 3 then, against the Steelers in garbage time, he was targeted 20 times for 172 and 2 touchdowns. But over the last 3 weeks, hasn't really been all that great. Week 4 with Aidan O'Connell, 8 for 75. Last week against his old team, 4 for 45. And then this past week against the New England Patriots, 2 for 29. So my question to every single person out there is this. If Davante Adams left, right, which he did leave before talking to the media, and according to reports, according to rumors, and people that I've talked to, he did leave upset. I don't know what he left upset about, but do you think that he was mad about his stats? The fact that he finished that game with only 5 targets. He finished that game with only 2 for 29. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so you're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. I want you to scroll on down and let me know. My opinion is, if Davante is frustrated with his stats, I don't think it's a good look. Point blank. If I'm going to sit up on this show and I'm going to rip Josh McDaniels when he doesn't do something intelligent, if I'm going to rip apart Jimmy Garoppolo, I got to be able to do it with every player. If Max does something dumb, I got to be able to chew out Max even though he's the face of this franchise. And if Davante is upset about his statistics after the Raiders win 2 games in a row, after the Raiders came away with a W, I'm telling y'all right now, it is not a good look at all. I'm not saying that that's what happened. Personally, I have another theory, which we'll get to here in a second. But like right now as it stands, when you look at Davante Adams' numbers on a 17-game pace, his numbers aren't bad. Like, these are not numbers that you should be upset about. 167 targets, 111 receptions for 1,335 yards and 8 touchdowns. This is not a bad 17-game pace. And I hope and pray that Davante was not upset about his stats. Coming up, why I think Davante Adams is upset, is mad, is frustrated. I've seen a lot of different words being thrown out there in terms of what exactly happened after this game. And when you have a player like Davante, when you have a situation like the Raiders have had, it's going to get a lot of attention. Why? Because obviously the nation cares about Davante Adams. Now, here's one thing that I preach on this show, and I said it when we were live. You don't always have to agree with what I say. In fact, I don't like when people always agree with me. I want you to have your own opinion. It's why we made the Raiders Report the way that it is. So when I tell you to go down and comment, I want you to go ahead and do so. But if you believe Raider Nation is a family, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, because I promise you this, you're not going to find another YouTube channel out there that preaches family more than what this one does right here. And people who I know are a part of my Raiders Report family, we started an old saying here, it's real one for life. When I went out to Oakland for the very first time, the amount of Raider fans and just doing this show, you hear Raider Nation for life. Cool. So when I see RO4L, it stands for Real One for Life. Those are the people that I know that are part of my family here on the Raiders Report. So I checked out my last video. I saw Jaime, Spider Pig, Doreen, X-Toe, and then King Sanchez all spammed RO4L. If you want to see your name on a future Raiders Report show, hit that subscribe button, join the family, and spam RO4L. So here's my take on this whole Davante Adams situation. I think Davante Adams is frustrated with the current state of the Raiders offense. It's not so much just a statistic part from him, though if I'm Davante, I'm probably like, yeah, I get that the Patriots try to take me out of the offense, but at the end of the day, he's probably like, I'm him, right? Like Davante knows that he's one of the best, if not the best receiver in football. So the idea of not getting him involved, it's probably frustrating, but just like anything in life, if you do something that you care about and you're not doing it well, that is extremely frustrating. Think about when you're playing Madden and you can't put up 40. Guess what? They can't even put up 20 right now. So to me, you got to look at this current state. But you also have to go back and you got to look at the offseason. That's very, very important here. Do you remember the quote that Davante Adams said in terms of the entire conversation around this offense and quarterback? The exact quote was, "We don't see eye to eye on what we think is best for us right now." Davante has always said exactly what's been on his mind, which is what I respect because you don't really get that too often in the NFL from players, from coaches, so on and so forth. But he told the Raiders, we don't see eye to eye right now what's best for us on offense. Kind of seems like Davante and the rest of us were right on that. And then this is also very important to remember. Davante wanted to come to the Raiders to play with the Raiders, obviously, for his family. He also wanted to be a part of the team with Derek Carr, his old buddy from Fresno State. But then the one thing that he asked Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, hey, if you're going to move on from D.C., all I ask is this, let me be a part of the conversation on who's going to be the next quarterback. If you're going to do all the things that you did to trade a first and a second for me, to give me a 5-year, $140 million contract, all I ask is this, I just want to be included in that. And what did the Raiders do? They didn't include Davante Adams. So here's my biggest worry right now around Davante. I'm worried that Davante Adams feels that he's unheard and that he's wasting his time with the Raiders. The most important thing in everybody's life, in my life, Chugs' life, your life, Davante's life, is time. And as soon as you feel like you're wasting your time, that makes me nervous because if that's how Davante feels, if he feels like no matter what he says to McDaniels, no matter what he says to Dave Ziegler, nothing matters because they're going to do what they want to do, that gets frustrating no matter who you are and what you mean to an organization. So coming up here is something that scares the hell out of me. I saw this on social media, and if you haven't seen this yet, it's going to make you a little bit nervous. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Because it scares the hell out of me because I don't want to lose Davante Adams. And I'll tell you exactly what that is here in just a second. But a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Prize Picks. Man, I've had a lot of fun with fantasy football. For those of you that know me well, I'm a fantasy football dude through and through. And the fact that I got Prize Picks here sponsoring the Raiders Report, man, I'm going to look at all y'all in the eyes every single time I talk about them. And I'm going to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. But you know what? Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So right now, for those of you that are watching this live, you can see the link. It's going to be available to y'all down in the comments. It's also going to be in the description. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The other thing that I like to do when I have Prize Picks on a show is I want to show you what picks I'm rolling with. I won $50 last week. Derek Carr, less on Thursday Night Football. Anytime I see Thursday Night Football, I usually go with the less because it's such a quick turnaround. But with that being said, I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara. Give me the more. I know Carr's going to check it down here and there, and It's nothing wrong with that, but Kamara is arguably one of their best receiving options. And then with the Giants, anything Giants right now, I'm taking less. Saquon Barkley, less rushing yards than what you see on screen. And if you're like, Mitch, I like those picks. Or I know there's going to be some Raider fans out there that are going to be like, Mitch, no way, Derek Carr's going to have more. Cool. Put your money where your mouth is. It's the easiest way to be able to prove to me what you think. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. I love using their app. I think y'all will too, and I'm telling you, you're going to have fun. Even if you don't plan on watching Thursday Night Football, anytime I don't know what I'm going to be doing, guess what I do? I go to Prize Picks, put 5, 10 down, and have a chance to win some money. Even people who are going to watch the MLB playoffs tonight. Go ahead. You can go MLB, you can do NBA, NFL. They have all the sports. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a hell of a time. So I want to play a little bit of a game here with Prize Picks. I'm saying Derek Carr, less than 234.5 passing yards. What do you guys think here? Type M for more or type L for less? I'm also the dude that I pay attention to certain players. When Darren Waller plays, hey, I'm watching. When Derek Carr plays, shit, of course I'm watching. Raiders games, I'm watching. More or less, Derek Carr, 234.5 passing yards. Let me know down below. All right, let's go to this next thing here. Something that scares the hell out of me. And when you talk about Davante Adams, all right, well, it's actually something else that scares me quite a bit. It's not that, but I'm not going to lie to you. Spiders do scare the hell out of me, and I didn't know you were going to do that. So we have two screens. I can see usually what's coming up on the screen on my left side, and then that. I was wondering why the screen was black, and then all of a sudden, yikes. Oh, that was... Did we just end it? No, I'm just kidding. All right, we're going to keep it rolling here with something that does actually scare me. Spiders do, but this scares me a little bit more. Hondo had this to say on Twitter in the whole regards to Davante Adams, which was sitting in a press box. I just got a text from a very successful NFL QB. Said, is Davante Adams on his way out of there? He's not getting any touches. He's the best in the league. I don't think that Davante Adams is going anywhere. I can't imagine that the Raiders are doing that because everybody that I talk to, it sounds like the Raiders are in win now mode, and the Raiders are going to be buyers at the NFL trade deadline, and that they're not going to be sellers. If they would have lost these last 2 weeks, I do think that maybe that conversation could have changed. But again, the Raiders have already paid Davante Adams. They have already paid him for 2024. So trading him away, basically you're paying Davante, it's $17 million-ish to go play for another football team. I don't think Davante is going anywhere. However, just because the Raiders don't want to deal him, if Davante feels frustrated, if Davante feels like no matter what he does, this organization is wasting his time, and if he asks for a trade, that's a lot different of a conversation, and that does make me nervous. And then I look at Adams the last 3 games here, okay? And I don't know what the disconnect is. His target share has been going down a little bit. Again, this is new QB. Maybe that's part of it. 8 catches, 75 yards. But then against his old team, the Green Bay Packers, can't get the offense going. Week 6, again, can't get the offense going. The Raiders have one of the worst offenses in the NFL, and Davante probably feels the way that a lot of Raider fans feel right now. We knew that this was going to happen. Why are we still trying to do the whole Jimmy Garoppolo, Josh McDaniels experiment? It's exhausting. That's why Raider fans are so mad with the whole Josh McDaniels thing, the whole Jimmy Garoppolo thing. It's exhausting because everybody but, I guess, this coaching staff knew that Jimmy Garoppolo and McDaniels weren't going to work out. So I pray, okay? I pray that Josh McDaniels isn't that dumb to trade away Davante Adams. And I don't think that Josh McDaniels is that dumb to trade away Adams. But what I am worried about is Davante thinking that he's wasting his time. And he says, hey, if y'all aren't going to appreciate me, I'm going to stop wasting my time here, and I'm going to go take advantage of my prime years with a team that's actually going to use me. So, Davante Adams' struggles to me, and when I say Davante Adams' struggles, I don't mean Davante Adams is struggling. And I'm actually like laughing out loud the amount of people that thought the Jimmy Garoppolo interception was on Davante Adams this past week because he put him in a terrible position. It was a great play by Jabril Peppers, no doubt about it. But there's people out there that actually think that Davante dropped that ball, got popped up in the air, and that interception was on Davante. If you think that, man, I'm never going to take football advice from you. That I can guarantee you. But Davante Adams' struggles are on Jimmy Garoppolo, and they're on Josh McDaniels because they're too predictable. All NFL teams are doing, not only are they stacking the box right now, they're doing everything that they can to take away Garoppolo's first read, which is, guess who? Davante Adams. So what are teams doing? They're trying to get really close to Davante. They're having one guy over the top. They're taking away the inside slant route because they know that Jimmy G is Davante Adams, Jacoby Myers, check down. That's what it's been the entire season. And if McDaniels and Jimmy G don't figure it out, Davante's going to continue to struggle. Well, maybe not struggle. Not going to put up Davante Adams type of numbers here. Coming up next here on the show, is Aidan O'Connell going to get the start this week? I know a lot of questions around Jimmy Garoppolo, whether or not he's going to end up playing in this game. For those that don't know the latest around number 10, Ian Rappaport on Monday said that the Garoppolo could miss this game with a back injury. Josh McDaniels took the podium yesterday and also said that the Raiders dodged a bullet, and Jimmy Garoppolo dodged a bullet with what they originally thought that the injury could be. Jimmy G did not play in the second half of the game against the New England Patriots, actually was taken to the hospital. And when I heard that the Raiders were taking him to the hospital and I saw the back injury, honestly, I was worried that it was something internal because the way that you're holding that area, I mean, you just never know exactly what's happening. But it sounds like right now Jimmy G is less likely to play than him actually having a chance to go out there and play. So does that mean it's going to be Aidan O'Connell? Is it going to be Brian Hoyer? I do think that people need to see who's taking those first-team reps because the last time this happened, O'Connell took the majority of the first-team reps on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then he ended up getting the start against the Los Angeles Chargers. So Hondo Carpenter, he had this to say on Twitter. Aidan O'Connell, no doubt, will start against the Bears if Jimmy G can't. I'll say I appreciate Hondo really pushing McDaniels' buttons during the press conference on Monday because everybody else that asks questions just tries to throw up softballs to McDaniels, but shout out to Hondo for actually asking questions that people care about. On top of that, though, the last time we had this conversation, Hondo was saying that Brian Hoyer was going to be the starter. It's going to be Brian Hoyer, and then it went to Aidan. All I'm saying is this. Keep your eyes out. Watch for the amount of updates as possible. I'll do my best to keep you guys up to date on here. I'll do my best to keep you up to date on social media. But let's just say the Raiders got smart, and they asked us, pick a starter, Brian Hoyer or Aidan O'Connell. I get it. Aidan struggled in his first game. He struggled against the Los Angeles Chargers. He was also sacked 7 times. Put the ball on the ground 3 times, had a bad interception at the end of the game. Or do you roll with the veteran, Brian Hoyer, who was 6-10, 102 yards, and looked pretty damn good this past week against the New England Patriots. Let me know, BH or AOC. My answer is it's Aidan O'Connell, and it's not even close to me. And the reason why I say that is because the Raiders, yes, you're 3-3, but anybody that's watched the Raiders for 6 weeks, there's no way you can honestly sit here and say that this is a playoff caliber team. They're not. They've played bad teams. Luckily, they've been able to win some football games. But if you actually want to see what this team can actually achieve, you go with Aidan O'Connell. You go with Brian Hoyer, and you might as well just say, I'm not trying to make the playoffs. You might as well just say, I'm not trying to win football games because I've seen Hoyer play for a long time, okay? Not the answer. Aidan might be the answer. Now, sure, you're going to take your lumps here because that's what's going to happen with a rookie, but you need to see what you have in Aidan O'Connell because of how good the draft class is next season. So to me, I'd say if Jimmy G can't play, there is a 75% chance that Aidan O'Connell starts over Brian Hoyer. McDaniels was asked who's going to be the starting QB if Jimmy G can't go. His answer was essentially, we're going to go with the guy that we think gives us the best chance to win. I'm telling you who that is. It's Aidan O'Connell. Give the kid some time to throw the football. The offense is going to open up a whole lot more, and I promise you the offense will be able to move the football against the Chicago Bears. So Jimmy, he was signed to start, and this is something that people really, really need to remember. And as soon as the Raiders moved on from Derek Carr, one of the things that we said here was if the Raiders go out and sign Jimmy Garoppolo, and then as soon as they sign Jimmy G, we sat up here on this show and said they're going to add Brian Hoyer. They went out and added Brian Hoyer. Then we sat up here on this show and said, hey, they're going to go out and draft Aidan O'Connell. They went out and drafted Aidan O'Connell. The plan is this. Jimmy G was signed to start. Brian Hoyer was signed to run practice team while Jimmy G was not able to go from March to August, essentially. And Brian Hoyer is right now on the team to help practice squad, to help groom Aidan O'Connell. But when it comes down to push to shove, it's going to be AOC. Josh McDaniels sets his plans, and he sticks with it. And he already shows you what the plan is. I don't think the plan makes a lot of sense to have Brian Hoyer as the backup on game days and have Aidan as an inactive, but McDaniels doesn't do a lot of things that make sense. But when Jimmy G was hurt and they had to make a decision back in week 4 who was going to be that starting QB, they rolled with Aidan. That plan is what McDaniels is going to go with. And for that reason is why I believe Aidan O'Connell will start this upcoming week against the Chicago Bears. If it's not the case, well, then I'm going to be yelling at McDaniels, because if you can change that, you're going to roll with Hoyer, I'm going to expect you to change a lot more on the offensive side of the football.